I was listening this morning to the morning meeting, and because I have a day job, I have to focus on that. But I have to say, Sean's analogy about NATO, and some people, the analogy that he used was correct. And shockingly, as a Canadian, I know that Trump is right about the NATO spending, and I'm glad that he's pressuring Canada and other countries to spend more on our military, not because it's just in America's interest, but because it's also in ours. So those are my thoughts, but my question is more broad. The president has said that he wants NATO members to pay 5% of their GDP towards NATO. And I just was wondering, is the goal of this trip to get commitments from every country, or what is the deliverable that we often talk about in these foreign trips that the administration has floated?
So, as you know, this has been a project of the president's for a long time. Chris Coons, who's at the NATO summit, senator from Delaware, was on Morning Joe this morning, and he mentioned that this was, the big focus of NATO. Didn't mention that it's only happening because President Trump made it a priority. President Trump has been badly misunderstood regarding NATO. He wants NATO countries, including Canada, to pay their fair share. He doesn't want to destroy NATO. He wants it fairly funded, and he wants a clear mission. And the mission is not just about restraining the Soviet Union, although obviously now NATO's main focus is dealing with Ukraine, but he wants a clear mission. So your country and Spain are holding out. It's not, as Sean pointed out, and as others have, it's not a pure 5%. It's 3.5 plus 1.5 for other defense-related activities. But for most Americans, and certainly for the president, I would say most Americans, maybe many Americans at least, every dollar counts. And the United States would like to see, and the president would like to see, other countries kicking in more, and not just writing checks, but playing a more robust role. And it's certainly the case that depending on what happens with Russia and Ukraine, we may well see Canadian, British, maybe German, maybe French military assets being deployed to deal with Putin when the United States will not put boots on the ground, although we'll stay involved as part of NATO for sure. So he asked about what the deliverable will be. I confess I've been so focused on Iran, I can't tell you what they plan to announce. But certainly the U.S. expects progress at this meeting towards firming up those commitments and putting specific timelines on them. It's easy to say we'll eventually spend 5%, but is it now? Is it next year? Is it 10 years from now? Behnam, anything you want to add to that, please do.
Just one footnote and a flag. I think your producer may have mentioned I have a hard out at the 6:30.
Yes, sir.
But on NATO, you may remember what the first Secretary General of NATO said long after leaving, which was, why was NATO created? It was created to keep the Russians out, the Germans down, and the Americans in. So in the 21st century, as we're talking about restructuring the funding for NATO, we're going to have to come up with a new cocktail of the rationale, the raison d'etre of what is NATO purpose of it, and how is it going to meet the 21st century North Atlantic threats that we all face.
Yeah, well said. And of course, it's all been thrown into a different direction than it would be because of Russia and Ukraine. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.